mat forward so I don't bang.
Hey guys, welcome to the season 2 of the Amplify Align podcast. Now, we have been told numerous times by our audience that we are fantastic and they've binged everything that we've done. Yes, but we've also had so many people request that they are able to actually watch this all unfold as well. So here we are. We're on video. So if you're listening to this via the podcast, you'll also be able to find us on YouTube as well with each episode, which basically just means you will be able to see everything from every expression and silly dance move and everything.
The eye rolls, the frustration, the joy, it will be all there written on our faces.
Absolutely. So if you are listening to the podcast, head over to YouTube. You'll find some links on our socials that will point you to the new home of the Amplify Align podcast in video. So, woo! Welcome.
Woohoo!
You sound so excited.
The video thing was thrown on me this morning. Stacey said, we talked about this, and I'm like,
we did.
Yeah,
we
a while
had
ago.
absolutely explicitly agreed that this would be happening in season 2.
Yes, we did. But I will say I'm not the kind of person who rolls out of bed and puts my makeup on and looks as amazing as Stace always does instantaneously. So yeah, I had a bit of catching up to do when I realized it's now season 2. And I have to be on camera.
It's definitely not an instantaneous thing. But yeah, I absolutely,
I know.
it's my routine. If I don't get up and put my eyebrows on, I'm like fully naked and I cannot be productive without my eyebrows on. It's just me, stubborn and stuck in routines, but I love it.
Yeah, and I'm that Taurus rising because I'll get up when I feel like it. I'll have a shower when I feel like it. I will do it at my own pace. Don't anyone push me. And I'm just going to sit here until I feel like it. That's my morning.
Yeah, well, some of us don't have that luxury that they do need to get out. And I actually, I've been getting out of bed quite early and starting my day a very unstacey way lately. And I am absolutely freaking loving it. I still do get up and leave the house without makeup on, but I will put my eyebrows on. I will say that because I like, just between you and me, guys, like I can't grow eyebrow hairs. So anytime you see my eyebrows, they're fake. I haven't got them microbladed because I refuse to do that because I hate it. But I do love drawing my eyebrows on and I do it every day. And I won't leave the house without eyebrows.
And I'm like that with my jewelry. I don't leave the house without my jewelry. And if I do, I feel naked and uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
I've even made Richard drive me home to put my jewelry back on if I've been
oh my God,
in the state of dreaminess and I've forgotten what I actually need to do in life.
That's so funny because Craig has in the past mocked the absolute shit out of me because I kept emergency rings in the glove compartment of my car in case I like, for those watching video, obviously, like I wear some chunky chunks. And yeah, if I leave the house without it, that was in my old car. Actually, I don't have any in the new car. So I probably need to sort that out so that in case it happens. Actually, I left the house the other morning without my watch on. And I actually contemplated when I got to where I was going, I was like, do I go home and get my watch and then come back? Or like, what do I do? So yeah, no, but I didn't. I just stayed out without my watch on. It was an awful experience.
The biggest challenge is when you're standing in front of your box or tray of rings and you're like, what do I wear today? I don't know what I want to wear today. And
I don't have that problem at the moment. I my like full jewelry kit is in storage while we're renovating and I still don't have our bedroom finished. So we've got heaps of stuff in storage. So I have a very limited collection, which is actually awesome because I just take the rings off and then I put the same ones on in the morning at the moment. It's a quick and easy process, but I'm very much looking forward to having all my things back.
Yeah, I've just noticed I'm fully matching today. I've got my blue top, my lapis ring with my blue wall. So yeah, there's definitely a mood happening here today.
Absolutely. And as a very shocking surprise to everyone, I'm fully kitted up in all black. For something different.
And I'm usually all black. There's only a couple colors I wear and blue is one of them. But yeah, we're the black twins in a way.
Yeah, I love that at the moment this thing that's trending all over social media is this, like, what season color are you? And there are actually color specialists, and you can actually, oh my, it's fascinating to watch the whole process. And I love watching it because you can see how when someone has actually got their wardrobe like totally hooked into what season color palette they are, that it just totally lifts their vibe. They look vibrant, they look healthy, their eyes pop, like everything just looks amazing. But I look at that and laugh because I'm like, even if I paid for someone to do my color, like if I was a whatever it is, like a soft summer or a whatever autumn, I'm like, yeah, shit, no, I'm not wearing pink or purple fucking ever. So don't even like, yeah, but I am wearing green eyeshadow today.
I noticed that. I did
Oh, you
notice
did
that.
notice. You did notice.
I did. I did.
Yeah. I was looking at my color palette this morning and I was like, oh, I do my makeup pretty much the same every day because it takes me like 5 seconds to do my eyeshadow. And so today I was like, fine, I'm going to do something different. And I used the green in my palette for the first time. So I have a little pop of color on my eyelids.
We had the purple a few weeks ago, I think it
Oh,
was
yeah.
now. That purple
Yeah.
was
I
amazing.
did the
That was in your
galaxy with
stories.
the, yeah, I did the galaxy pink and purple with the shimmer. And I'm like, it's something different, something to play with. But all of like my good color palettes that I've had previously, my kids have those now. Mackenzie and Elliot, they've just like totally gotten into playing with makeup and stuff. So like my Jeffree Star palettes and my Morphe palettes, they're all like sitting in their rooms at their makeup tables. So like I don't have a lot of options because I use like one Morphe palette and my Jaclyn Hill palette at the moment. That's it. So yeah.
You can see the Leo rising in Stace, can't you? That bright, shiny, like all in that image. Whereas I'm that, again, earthy Taurus. So I'm like, yeah, I don't like having anything on my nails. Stacey took me for a pedicure a few weeks ago when she was in Queensland. And I could not stand having the polish on my toes. I picked it off within a couple of days because I just couldn't cope.
You absolutely blew me away though.
Unnatural.
You chose jungle red. Like, I don't know if anyone's
I
watched
love
The
red.
Women, the movie, where, you know, she's this boring mum and having all these problems in the marriage and she hasn't found herself. And so she keeps getting beige in her pedicures and manicures. And then she goes after she's found herself and she chooses jungle red. And that was a moment when I was like, with Emma, I was like, oh, this is different. I was totally expecting you to go for something neutral. And yeah,
I love red. Red's my favorite color.
Red.
My favorite crystal is garnet, red and black garnet. And look at this one I just got the other day. Another red crystal.
Beautiful. Yeah,
Isn't
that's
it
gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
She's holding up something that kind of looks, for those that are listening along, like it looks like amethyst, but it's freaking red and it's stunning. Yeah, it's cool.
It's called Vanadinite. Vanadinite. That's a really good one for motivation, will, power, making progress in your business. But
yeah, interesting.
Isn't it pretty?
It is. It's beautiful. So we like I have a masterclass that's coming up very soon. It may have been live before this goes out. I'm hoping it's not, but it will be available for you to tap into the replay at any time through my links. But if a part of that masterclass, we're talking about the energetics of confidence and how to show up in video, how to show up in your business, sales calls, presentations. There's so many different aspects of business where we need confidence, and we're not going to talk about all of that today. But I will just tap into that where you say that it's all my Leo as this outward expression of who I am. That's a massive component of confidence structures. And I'm actually talking about that in the masterclass and how we need to actually harness external confidence through the way that we present ourselves out into the world. Massive, massive thing. And I know we've spoken about it before. We actually had a failed podcast that we recorded and it didn't work. So we never re-recorded it, where we talked about outward experience, outward expression with our personal branding and stuff. Do you remember us recording half that episode and it all went to shit?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
that was devastating because it was so good. It was so good.
Fire. It was a fire episode. Like it was so good. But we never
so my part of the
didn't.
My part of the conversation around all that is, of course, the energetics, that alignment practices, the astrology comes into that. I use astrology because it helps people tap in to that authentic energy rather than go through that confusing, lengthy process of trying to figure out what that is and who we're meant to be. So my part is that metaphysics and the quantum side of things, and that gets me really excited.
Yes, I can't wait. I have so much good shit coming into that masterclass. So I know you growl at me all the time because you're like, stop doing all this amazing content for everyone in these free masterclasses. You should be charging thousands for this. And I know. This one is purely for our community to help them, because I feel like confidence is the first step in building a successful business. And it doesn't mean like outwardly being an extrovert or being like this crazy upbeat personality and all of that sort of stuff, but it is part of the structures of what I am totally passionate about and teaching, and try to bring that out in people. And so I'm excited to present that class. And it is just the surface level, like there's so much more into confidence that we need to talk through, but I am going to be giving some action items and stuff that you can work on after the session, but I'm really keen for that. But anyway, we actually do need to talk about what
Get
we're
on to
here
the
to talk about.
things
Yeah,
the
I
thing we
mean,
decided to actually talk about.
we often sit here for hours at a time, just yip yapping, and we'll get on Zoom or we'll just WhatsApp call each other and talk for ages and ages about everything. So we tend to go on these things and it's like, oh, it's been an hour since we've been on the phone call. Oh, great. Yeah, wonderful.
Sometimes 2 hours, if we're honest.
Yeah, which is how the actual podcast came about, because we talked about these conversations we were having and people were like, oh, we need to like be in on this because that sounds like you're having the best conversations. And yeah, so here we are. But anyway, so the reason why this whole thing came up was because a client of mine, a new client, came to me and we were looking at the processes and systems in their coaching business. And I got really pissed off and frustrated by the conversation. And, I'm not here as a mentor to be your best mate and tell you everything looks great and this is going to be great. You're going to make $1 million. This is fantastic. I am going to tell you the truth, and sometimes it sucks. And we had this conversation about, what is your system and your structure? What is your signature transformation process? And what are the layers of that? And I was explaining this to Em, like, I'm so frustrated because they just are not listening to me and they refuse to accept this process that I want to take them on as far as their coaching business. And Em and I have been doing this for a very fucking long time. We've mentored and coached, and like, as far as like the actual practice of coaching, I'm not a coach. I'm not here to help you resolve issues and go through all these processes. I'm here to mentor you through a lot of other stuff. So for me, of course, I am like hugely, I guess I have the experience of it, but you have the actual background of coaching certifications and all of these systems, which we're going to talk about in a little while. But when I was explaining this to Em and how frustrated I was, she totally related to me because she understands, because she's actually been trained by the best freaking humans and coaches in the world to actually create these structures for a coaching business. So what this client of mine was asked was, what is your signature transformation process? What are the layers that you take your clients through? What is the framework? And their response to me, which I'm sure many of you listening are probably the same, and there's nothing wrong with that until you don't know, like, yeah. And their response was, I don't have a framework. I have no system. I get on a call and I just work through whatever that person presents to me. Whatever issue they have, I just walk them through that. And I was basically, oh, so you're just jumping on a call like you would a mate then. Like, you're not really a coach, right? If you don't have a framework. And they didn't really accept that. And I've given them a lot of work and some structure around how to create that. And they still haven't done that. That's a whole other story. But there was this massive level of resistance because they did not understand how important this framework is in a coaching business. They basically just said, but everyone is different that comes to me. So there's no need to have a framework because someone might come to me with this issue and then I don't need to work through these things. And I'm like, explaining it and you still don't understand what a framework actually is.
So this isn't just a one client problem.
Yeah.
This is not just a one client problem. This is actually a significant, let's say, global problem in the coaching industry. because there are a lot of people going out there and doing one course on how to be a coach. And then they go out in the world without any experience and charge thousands of dollars for their coaching without any kind of framework. There is no transformational process that helps them get the results that they need. So this is just one element of the coaching industry that my opinion is making it so tainted in the way that it is at the moment. But there is the energetic side of structure. There is the psychological side of structure. There's the physical side of the structure. But I'm a bit of a brat sometimes. And I will actually go and ask the question of, well, how do you help people? How do you fix this problem? How do you resolve this challenge? And when someone says to me, oh, it's different for every person, that is a very powerful confirmation that they are not ready to be doing the work that they say they are doing.
Mm-hmm.
So without a structure, there is no change. And without the experience and the practice, you cannot create your own signature structure. And every coach, every training and certification I've ever done has a structure, a very powerful signature process that they take you through, regardless of what the problem the client has coming to them. You take them through that process, but what you do within that structure might be different for every person. So this
Absolutely
is where we want to come in and say, what is your structure?
Mm-hmm. And like, you guys know, we've been listening for a while. I'm a visual person. Like, I have to like explain things visually in concepts. And when we were talking about this the other day, I was like, I imagine it like a ladder. So regardless of what your outcome is that you're offering your clients, whether it is happiness, whether it is successful relationships, whether it's success in business, trauma healing, or whatever, that transformation is at the top of your ladder, right? And it is exactly the same for every single one of your clients. It doesn't matter where they start. You might have a client that starts on the first rung, and you need to work them through the steps so that every step of the ladder is processed to be able to successfully get to the top to get to that transformation. You may have a client that comes to you who's on rung 5 or 10 in that process, but the process still needs to be the same. Sometimes they need to take a few steps backwards from where they think they are. But to be able to successfully get to that transformation, you need to have a framework or a ladder for them to climb successfully, to be able to get there safely and efficiently. It's so frustrating when coaches out there don't have that.
This is what makes us unique as well. That's the whole other side of the conversation. But if you've got someone coming to you, you need to understand what steps you need to take them through.
Oh, absolutely.
You need to understand what they need. And if you don't have a structure, how can you understand what they really need? If you don't understand the transformational process, you don't have a structure. If you don't have a structure, you don't understand the transformational process. So this is where we need to be really honest with ourselves. So go, well, if I don't know how to get them from this rung to this rung to this rung, if I don't even know what those fucking rungs are, then am I ready to be really going out in the world and saying, I can get you these results? Because going in blind and getting the results, it's like, yay, this is fun. But how did you actually get them there? Not only can you not duplicate that, you can't really own that.
I was just about to say that.
Own that.
Exactly. If imagine if I didn't have a process or a framework for creating successful sales funnels and sales systems. Like, I would be reinventing the freaking wheel every single time. And it would be a lengthy, arduous process to recreate that with every single client. But no, I have frameworks in place. I have worksheets to give them so that it is a really smooth and beautiful process. I just think it's such a waste of your client's time if you're having to recreate the process on every single call that you get on with a new client. If you're having to
But it
go through
also,
this structure, it's so tiring.
oh, and it also allows you to get in really close contact with what people need. Oh, there's so many different layers to this conversation. I'm struggling to really know where to start because I want to say it all at once. But
Start at
if
the
someone's
first rung.
if someone's coming to you saying they're on rung 5 and you don't know where to go to really, I guess, test, because what clients are actually where they say they are. They think they're at a level. I've been there as well. I've gone into trainings and experiences and like, oh, I'm so evolved. Bit of ego coming in there. And then I've gone in and I'm like, oh, actually, I'm not really where I thought I was. But that coach, that teacher knew where I was and was able to take me back to where I needed to go so that I could then evolve through that step-by-step process. So the process in the most powerful coaching process I've ever learned is very defined. It's the transformational process of awakening someone's authority to create change, moving them into acceptance of what they can and can't change, moving into appreciation of their power and the purpose in what they're experiencing, moving into a state of awe, which allows us to step into co-creation with the universe. That is a step-by-step process from the amazing Femke Mortimer that creates real results. And we use them, we see the change, we can see where people need to start from. And clients' experiences are an ongoing cycle. They don't just go up to the top of the ladder and they're there permanently. When they go on to a different transformation, when they need to take a different type of action, you
I was
then
just
got to be able
thinking
to
of like
facilitate them.
the old school Donkey Kong with the ladders and the platforms, and you had to like work your way up. Same thing. Life, business,
Absolutely.
new ladder,
If
new
you,
platform, moving on. Yeah.
if you don't have a structure for yourself, not only are you spiraling in all the directions or trying to go in all the directions, you don't know where to put your ladder because you have the ladder itself. But I used to say, if you're putting your ladder against the wrong tree, you're just going to be taking yourself and people in the wrong direction. So this is something that anchors your genius and allows you to carry people through your genius and your unique process.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, it's still like, obviously, this is something that's triggering me because I'm still like really frustrated by this response. And it's not just this client, but there's been many others that I've spoken to and worked with in the past who refuse to acknowledge this process. And honestly, I think it's like this level of comfort as well with their coaching that they don't necessarily need to be working through a framework or a process, because it feels just comfortable to get on the call and like talk to your client where they're at and just like work through the current levels rather than actually acknowledging like, oh, hey, I'm actually a coach and I actually need to know how this whole process works. It's just like, let me just, for those watching the video, like I'm clearly frustrated. It's just bullshit.
Her eyes are wide. She's like staring at the camera with eyes wide.
I'm like unnecessarily frustrated. But you know, my stance on the whole coaching industry, like I feel like it's a whole bunch of bullshit. And there's so many people out there coaching who are doing it shit and like not really helping people. And it's like a whole thing. The industry is
it's
gone
dying.
mad.
Well, it needs to change. There's so many people out there talking about how to get results that they can't even get for themselves. And the coaching industry needs to shift.
Yeah. This moves me on to the next layer of what I acknowledge in this framework and this process, creating your signature transformation. So obviously a lot of people come to me to be mentored because they don't have success in business, or they have a success to a certain level and they're ready for more. I honestly believe that without this framework, without a signature transformation, you cannot fucking sell your coaching successfully.
There's nothing to sell.
Exactly.
You've got nothing to sell. You can't even not sell it. You have nothing to sell. Showing up, going, I can help you. I think I can help you, maybe. That's the energy of it.
There is those certain people who show up with confidence and conviction and can sell stand schemas. We know that. Like, that's a whole thing. But But for those that don't have those layers of conviction yet, without actually having conviction in your process, your audience will not feel that. They're not going to freaking work with you unless they know that you can hold their hand through this process. And
But it's also an integrity thing. It's also integrity. So people who have that unwavering confidence, they have no qualms about getting out there and selling something that doesn't exist. Whereas the mission-driven women who have integrity, we can't get out there and say we've got this thing to sell when we feel like a fraud because we don't have the structures.
Oh, absolutely.
We just can't do that.
When you're selling or promoting your services, whether it's through SEO, whether it's through social media, wherever the heck that you're, doing your audience attraction strategies, your audience need to know in some ways what that process is. They don't go for, like, we're talking, negative sales points, which are, pain point marketing and all of that sort of stuff that can trigger people, but it's unnecessary. And there's a whole psychological process of why that actually doesn't really work effectively anyway. But people actually need to hook into the belief and the trust of working with you. So if you're not booking clients, it's not because your process is shit in some cases. It's that you don't actually know how to convey that to your audience in their language successfully that motivates them to work towards your transformation. And this is why, not only confidence is a layer that I like to work on, but it's actually the conviction in the writing process of how you actually show up, or how you show up in the, words when you're actually in video or talking to someone about what it is that you do. Being able to identify and solidify that framework in the written word, or when you're talking in a connection call, discovery call, whatever that be, it gives no room for doubt that you are the best person to actually guide them through what it is that they need. And this is why so many people are struggling to sell what they do, because they don't know how to freaking write about it. And this is a huge component of that discovery and writing process, is actually identifying what the hell you do. It's really easy.
And look, if you're a new coach and we are scaring the fuck out of you, just take a step back and think about.
I don't mean to do that. I'm sorry if we are.
No, it just occurred to me that we might be. But I also want to say that step back and think about the process that you were taught and really pull the structure out of what you were taught. Unfortunately, there are a lot of programs out there now with people who've been coaching for like 3 seconds, who have done 3 seconds of training themselves, that aren't based in structure. The 2 best coaching certifications I've ever done provided a structure that we could follow as new coaches. You don't have to be at a point where you are creating this whole new revolutionary process yet. However, if you have unfortunately been through one of those programs that doesn't provide that ladder for you, then you may need to do some digging, and you may need to even go out there and find training. But make sure that training has a defined process that has proven results that you can learn and work with until you go, oh, this needs to shift. Oh, these clients are having this struggle. I might add this layer in there. Like, it is our responsibility to create these structures so we can facilitate the transformations that we say we can. This is where the integrity happens. So if you do need more training, and I'm not saying that it's a good thing to go on those constant cycles. I've been on those. But what I know is missing now was that none of those fucking teachers had a structure. It was all based on concepts that weren't anchored in any form of process. And we got left to going, all right, well, how do we actually do this now? Been there. My business shifted when I went, oh, like, this is the way I can actually do the thing. So find that person who can teach you that.
Yeah. And you will yourself find, without those frameworks, you will struggle to have the solid successes with those clients that then help propel you forward. They might say that they're changed, and they might show up and say that things are great, but the solid proof is in the actions that happen after you've worked with someone. And a testimonial means absolute nothing if it's all just them saying it was fantastic and blah, 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 unless they can say without a doubt that these results came from the actions that they implemented after working with you. And so sometimes that can happen with clients when you are just working on a bit of a whim, but I can guarantee you it's not going to be 100% of your clients that walk away with those successes. It's going to be very low. The other thing is, obviously, like I was saying about how you actually sell that, you'll find that when you're getting on those connection calls and you're talking with people, or discovery calls, whatever you want to call them, that when you have that clear framework, you're also eliminating a lot of clients that don't move on to the next layer of your whole process. And I hate the term closing sales calls because I feel like that is just a horrible disconnect from the energy of working with someone. I've never closed a sales call in my life. I've opened a new relationship, is the phrasing that I like to use. But when you have that solid foundation of that framework, your conversion rate from those calls to that new relationship are going to be significant. And there's a whole other layer of how you have success in sales calls, which would actually probably be a really good episode to go through, or a masterclass, because you need to have a really good number in that conversion process to have a successful business as well. And framework absolutely unlock that for people. When they see that structure, oh, it's beautiful.
Well, think of your business and your transformational process like a building. It needs a framework, it needs the walls, it needs the roof, because what we're offering is a container of energy. If we don't have that framework, if we don't have those walls, if we don't have the roof, if we don't have that solid foundation that we are offering our work on, then energy is leaking everywhere. You cannot contain it. Your clients will be feeling that. People will be feeling that. With that loss of energy goes your confidence, your purpose, your power. Like, this is where we can even start thinking about, for those of you who are spiritual leaders, that masculine and the feminine. That feminine energy is our heart. It's the way we connect with people. But the masculine is that framework. It's the strength to build that tower to the sky so people can reach their goals, their needs. It doesn't matter whether you're a spiritual coach, an emotional coach, a wellness coach. It's all the same across all industries. And I shared with one of my clients the other day that the reason a lot of spiritual businesses are failing, and the reason why a lot of spiritual healers and leaders are going broke, is because they are so resistant to forming this process. But if we are going to create any kind of legacy, we need to build the empire that rests on. So take that moment, contemplate what that would actually look like for you, because this is our responsibility as leaders, as legacy leaders.
Yeah, absolutely. So the other aspect of it, being able to create and define what that framework is, and we're not talking about a hugely like complex process. It could be a 3-step process broken down into sections within those 3, could be 5. We tend to, when we're mentoring people through this process, talk about creating acronyms or using the same, starting letter of this, process. And I've had previously created a structure for like a personal branding process, which was started all with the same letter. And for me, that was a V. I'm trying to think back. It was like nearly 10 years ago now. Yeah, it was V because the last one was victory. So I had that structure
I've got the V's
in place.
too.
Yeah, and
I've got the V's. I've got the vision,
well.
vibration. Yeah, and I've got my mission mapping, which is mission, mastery, medicine. I've got a P one as well for my sacred wealth process. Yeah, so the P. Prosperity, purpose, passion. Yeah.
So not only do you need the framework, but you need to be able to brand it. And obviously this is one of my passion points in this whole thing, is like, there are so many people out there doing the same thing that you do. How the fuck do you plan to stand out if you don't have a signature process as well. If you're just saying like, oh, I'm a health coach, or I will help you heal your trauma, that's fantastic. But there are also like 10,000 other people in my Instagram feed that do the same thing. So I need to
Say
know
they can do
that
the
you're
same
actually
thing.
different. Exactly. And like my stance is always there's no such thing as competition. No one can compete with me because no one is me. I'm very, very firm on that. I do not believe in competition whatsoever, and I will support everyone in my industry, regardless of whether we're selling the same thing, because you can't compete with me. If
As
yeah,
I used to say to people, the market's not overcrowded, the message is.
absolutely. And this is where this whole thing comes from as well. Is like, how are you going to stand out when you're out there on Instagram or you're out there on YouTube, you're in those Facebook groups? How are you planning to actually capture attention and stop people from scrolling unless you have some way of standing out? So not only is the framework important, and then actually creating a brand around that framework is a huge part of that process as well. And so people are getting used to thinking that like my signature process is my impact driven income, which is getting a huge overhaul and change, and it's shifting into the 2.0 version, and I can't wait to share that again with the world. But that process has been amazing. The screenshots that I have from people actually utilizing that framework and implementing into their business has had incredible results. And so, of course, it's obviously a proven method. I'm just making it even fucking better and doing it a little bit differently. But being known for a particular process or course, or you can create these, as Em said, she has them for her different pockets of transformations that she offers within her umbrella of her business. So it's not just like, oh, I'm showing up and I'm doing the same process in my one-on-one coaching, and I'm doing the same process in my group programs or my evergreen programs. That process is different depending on the outcome. And as I said, like ladder transformation at the top, so whatever you're doing, create different frameworks and branding and structures around those, because you become recognizable, your audience builds trust, and you actually stop people from fucking scrolling, because we're all so sick of seeing more free 3-day challenges and experiences and freebies to download and all this shit. We actually do need to create scroll stopping worthy content that captures people, and part of that's your process.
So in regards, I was already thinking about going in this direction, but in regards to the content, how many people do you find that say, I've been there, don't judge me, but I don't know what to write. I don't know what to say. How many? Daily?
I fucking hear it every day. Like, honestly, like, I know you think, like, I mean, the audience probably thinks I'm a bitch because I say this all the time. If you are not inspired to fucking show up every single day and talk with passion about what it is, what you do and your transformation, then your audience are never going to be inspired enough to work with you. So
yes,
get inspired, get passionate.
This is a sign. Yeah. But this is also a sign that you don't have a framework. If you don't have a framework, if you don't have a structure, you got nothing to speak about, because all that energy is going everywhere. You haven't really got anything defined.
Yeah.
Nothing's at earth level. If you don't have content, if you don't have something to say, if you don't know where to direct your energy, if you're feeling like what you are trying to say is lacking in purpose, then I ask you to question your framework. Is it strong? Does it even exist? What do you need to do to strengthen that? Because if you've got, say, a 5-step process, there are at least 10 things plus that you could say about each step of that process. And this is what I've discovered in my spirals of not having the confidence to own those frameworks. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to write. What should I be talking about? I've had all these whinges. Stacey's heard me say all this before too.
Oh yeah.
So
and like,
I have been through this myself. I say this having come through it, not looking down, going, oh, this is all the problems. I've faced all this myself.
Absolutely. And like, you can be given all the structures and everything. Like, through my impact driven income process, part of that is creating the elements of your content and helping you map that out. Now, obviously, as a social media marketing person, I go against the grain with what everyone says. And I'm telling you, don't fucking batch content if you're not inspired to do it. Be more intuitive with the strategy in which you're showing up and how you're creating content. Like, don't do it the same boring way that every other business does. Because for spiritual business women like us, mission-driven women, it does not work. And you have permission to just use your intuition and go with the flow with your content. You're still going to have more impact by working with intuition than you will by batching a whole bunch of content that you aren't connected to. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. So with the structures that I give, with the elements and all the foundational structure, it does not mean shit unless you've actually got those foundations in place of what it is that you actually do and how you're showing up, what transformations you're offering the world. So absolutely, you're bang on there. And that's why when people do that process, they're like, I'm still not sure and I'm still not showing up to do content. Like, honestly, if you aren't busy with clients, then you should be busy creating fucking content to get clients. If you're busy with clients, you still need to make time to create content. And you know what? Because you're working with people, you should have an endless supply of content because you're talking to people every day or every week where you're finding out what the struggles are and what, you know, the things are that they're going through, that you've had the questions. You can use that for your content. Not saying like, this client asked me this question. That's not what I'm talking about. But if you're busy with clients, you have got an amazing resource for content, and you still should be creating content even when you're busy. Because like right now I've got a wait list and I'm still showing up and creating content. Like, it's sporadic and what have you, but I've got so much shit that I want to get out into the world. But I also have to be mindful, like I have a wait list. So like I'm doing it as there's a strategy behind the madness, but you still need to be creating content.
But don't despair. I take my clients through an offer alchemy process. I like to think of myself as I help people resurrect their businesses. And I work with some phenomenally talented, gifted healers, coaches, leaders. And often they have been doing their thing for such a long time and they're so good at it and it's so natural for them that they weren't even aware of the process that they followed. They weren't even aware that they had a framework and they took people through the step-by-step process. And I guide them through that from the moment that they come in contact with someone, their transformational process. This is why I do the offer alchemy session, because the people that come to me need to bring their business and themselves to greater power. So I'm betting a lot of you actually do have a process. You're just not entirely aware of it. And when we're not aware of it, even when we're so incredibly good at what we do, without that, we don't have the things to talk about. And this is what I find with my clients. Once I take them through that offer alchemy process, they're out there all the time sharing their message. They're excited. They know who to direct it to. They know what to say, when to say it. They know how to carry people through up that ladder because they've stepped back and they've witnessed it and actually looked at each individual rung. So we're not saying that if you don't have one, it sucks, you're never going to succeed. It's more that you've got to take a step back and examine what it is you actually do and really own it, because this is part of our job, is to create something that will help get the results that we promise.
For sure. Absolutely. Like I said, you could be plodding along, having great success right now without that. But to move forward,
we don't want to plod.
Create consistency.
No plodding.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no plodding. We want to accelerate. Like, we want to honestly, increasing our range of impact. You need to have some framework. Otherwise, there's nothing to hold the energy.
Exactly. And people come to us to work with us specifically because they're sick of where they currently are. And so, like, obviously people want to move the needle. They want to move forward. They want to amplify this whole process. So there's work to do in every layer. And obviously we're not saying we're friggin' perfect either. Like, yes, we have wonderful businesses that support us and we have amazing clients that we work with. But at each level of success, it's not like, oh, I'm here, I'm done right now. Like, there's nowhere I can move forward. I'm going to have to go through this same process at my next level with my next ladder as well. And that's why it's helpful to have people to help support you go through those rungs to get to the next point. But it's also amazing that there are so many resources out there available for you on good old Google, on YouTube, in podcasts like this. Like, this is like having mentors in your pocket at any one time. You can look up episodes, not only this podcast, obviously, like so many other channels out there that have answers for you. So regardless of whether you're sitting here rolling your eyes going, oh, I can't like invest right now in a coach or a mentor to help me develop this process. There are so many resources out there for you to grab. And if you're not grabbing them, then there's a problem. But heaps of options.
So what I suggest you all do is you step back and look at what is the transformational journey that your typical clients need to go on. When they come to you, what are they struggling? What do they face? Then what do they face? Lay it out. Get a piece of paper or your iPad and your Apple Pencil and lay out the process. Then start to look at how you help them at each of those levels of transformation. That's how you create your framework. Is that, for example, for my astrology mapping, I was meeting a lot of women who didn't feel like they were connected to their purpose. They aren't really certain about their message. They're not really connected to the roots of their medicine. They can't really define their mastery. So I've looked at that. I'm like, these women are having all these problems. How can I help them in terms of mentoring and the astrology? And that's when my mission mapping was born. Is it recognizing at each level that they're struggling within their business and increasing that range of impact and bringing in that alive income that supports their freedom? It's like, well, what's stopping them from having that thing that they want to have? Mm-hmm. Then I created a framework around it. So if you're going, well, I don't even know where the fuck to start, step back and look at the problems that you can help people with, lay them out in order, and then define what it is you do at each of those levels. That's how you can start, that you can initiate that process of discovery that is going to strengthen your work and your business and the results that your clients get.
Absolutely. I love that. I think that's incredible. And I just want to probably end this now with this motivating, I guess the end of this as being motivating is that whatever magic is actually in you, whatever has inspired you to do what you do, there is a massive amount of structure and framework just hidden within that passion. And it is just sitting down and starting to unlock that whole process. And again, this is why it's important to start one-on-one with clients and not just do group coaching programs straight up, which we'll die on that hill. We have talked about that before, but like, anyway, that's a whole other discussion, but
that's a whole other episode.
Your passion is so needed out in the world. What it is that you're so desperate to change within people is incredible. And it's just that feminine energy whizzing around. The masculine container that you put that in is that framework, and the impact that can be had with that framework alongside that passion and that purpose that you're driving all of this energy into, like, that is where pure absolute magic happens. And we're so excited that you're listening along and you're here on this journey with us, and that we can be part of that process for you, because that's just like the best fucking thing ever. And I love it.
Yeah. We get excited by helping people bring their magic to earth and then taking it out into the world. Like, that's what really lights us up. And that's why Stacey and I work so well together, because we do both layers of this, and we see what you're capable of and we help you make those adjustments. So welcome back, season 2. First one is done. We'll see you in the next session, or you'll see us literally.
Join Mission Driven Women. That is our group. It's always linked below. It'll be linked below video. It'll be linked below the audio in your podcast notes. So join the group, join the community, come hang out with us. We would love to see you there. See you guys.
Bye-bye.